abortion and ethical systems. Okay, so let's start with I can't pronounce this one. Get it? Can't? Because his name is... Okay, anyways. This particular system of ethics is in essence a set of rules that you have to follow, a checklist to fill before you can do any given task. And if you follow those rules, then you do the task. You do the thing that you're duty bound to do. If you're ordered to kill somebody, you kill that person. Doesn't matter how you feel about it or what the consequence might be, your duty was to do that. In Kantian views, the duty was to the truth. You had to tell the truth, no matter what. Doesn't matter if it's going to hurt you, hurt somebody else, reveal information you didn't want. If you're asked a question, you tell the truth, because that is the virtue. That is the thing that you've in your mind pictured. If everybody in the world told the truth, that would be an ideal world. So if you took that and applied it to abortion, you would have a world where there are no children ever again, because everybody's aborting any kids. So eventually humanity would die out. And you might view that as good, or you might view that as bad, depending on where you set the checklist and how you set that checklist in determining what value you consider to be something that should be universal. So if you say, well, life is good, then you should treat life as always being good no matter what. So to hell with the consequence. If I view life as good, then abortion must always be wrong because it's life, and therefore it's always good. Now, if somebody says, well, what if somebody dies because they didn't get the abortion? Doesn't matter. The looking is done at the action, not the consequence. You're not really concerned with the consequence. You're concerned about whether the action in and of itself is something that you would want to see done universally. So if you want to see no humans, universally speaking, then that would be something you'd say, good, abortion, great. But then you'd also have to reflect on your own existence, because this would apply retroactively to you as well. Did you want to not exist? Did you want to be aborted? Now, maybe somebody did. Somebody regrets that they exist. So, applying that universal standard, if everybody also felt this way, if everybody also didn't want to exist, then abortion would be good. But since other people don't want that, then it's not good. So it just depends on what that checklist is. So it gives you a framework on which to hang your moral values. And consequences be damned. Once you've decided that this action is the correct action, it's always the correct action. If you can view the whole of humanity doing that action, and that picture looks good to you, then that's what you must do. Of course, different philosophers view this particular ethical idea in different ways, so your miles may vary when it comes to this particular system. Divine Command Theory, or DCT. One I'm more familiar with. God said it, and that settles it. Within this framework of ethics, it's really simple. What does your God tell you to do or not to do? Do those things or don't do those things. End of story. Period. Full stop. If God says to do it, you do it. God says don't do it, you don't do it. Don't eat shrimp, don't eat them. Don't wear mixed fabrics, don't do it. Don't work on Sunday, don't work on Sunday. Worship only one particular God, you better do that. Don't say its name in vain. Whatever particular religion you adhere to, whatever that God says to do, you do it. And I guess under multiple gods, you would have multiple different gods telling you what to do or not to do, although maybe they don't tell you anything in regards to what to do or not do, and in that case, I guess you're not really concerned with that because they didn't give you orders for your life. But in religious systems where there is one or more gods telling you to do something or not do something, you do it. Whether it's illegal or not, it's irrelevant. Under this ethical system, the moral value is in doing what God said to do. So, with abortion, it would just depend on what religious system you adhere to, what holy book you look at, and ultimately what you think God is telling you to do or not do. And that varies greatly with every individual and with every denomination and with every religion and with every belief system regarding God. If you believe that God told you to drown your kids, then drowning your kids is the right thing to do, even though you'll be sent to prison and possibly killed for doing that. Doesn't matter. That's what God told you to do, so you had to do it. Now, this does seem to suggest it only applies to you personally, but some religious systems might have rules that tell you to enforce God's will upon others. Like, say, Islam, for example, has some ideas about enforcing the will of God upon others, whether they like it or not, or that God is giving you certain things and other people not those things. And if you're Muslim, you get this, but if you're not Muslim, you don't get diddly squat. So within that system, you're granted certain things if you believe in it, and if you don't, then you just get screwed over, and that's just the way it is. So, is abortion okay under DCT? It depends what God has to say on it. Which God? Whichever one you believe in. And also whichever way that you believe God is telling you to do that. Can I enforce that on other people's? I don't know. Did God tell me that I can enforce it on other people's? Let me check. Oh yes, God told me I can enforce that upon you. So yes, I totally can enforce my system of ethics upon you because my God told me to. How do I get argued out of this system? You don't. Make no mistake about it, I view DCT as a non-ethical system. I find it broken in terms of morality because your actions are pointed to being God's commands, and it's not your fault. You're just doing what you were told. Their moral accountability goes away, and it shifts the blame. Also, your decision making is completely absent under this ethical system. You're not allowed to make choices whether you want or don't want to do it. You just have to do whatever it is God told you to do. And then figuring out what God tells you to do, of course, is a whole nother problem in and of itself, because God, well, is kind of quiet unless you believe that you're hear from God, and then that's a whole nother problem. Egoism. Egoism? I can't pronounce any words. This is essentially I love me. If it's good for me, I'll do it. I don't care about you. What's best for me? That's the question that I'm going to ask. And if I think it is best for me, then I'll do it. I don't care if it's best for you. Who cares about you? I care about me. I'm going to be selfish. And that's just the way it is. Too bad. Don't care. Whatever. I'm going to act in my own best interests. And so my morals are then going to conform to fitting whatever's in my best interests. So the question of abortion would be simply, is it in my best interest? Well, now this is a question within a question. If I'm a man, might not be in my best interest to have a kid because I'm on the hook financially. So I don't want to have a kid, or I don't want to be on the hook financially, so it's not in my best interest, therefore abortion good. Got to convince my woman to do that, and or find a way to not be on the hook financially for this somehow, which now I need lawyers for, which costs money. Oh man, There's no way out of this. Well, I guess it's time for somebody to slip. Oopsie. Now, if I'm a woman, then I just ask the question whether or not having a baby is good for me. Doesn't matter about the baby, because the baby isn't me. So it's just a question of, is this good for me? Will this help me? Will this benefit me? Hey, I can get more money from the government. Hey, alright, I'm having the baby. Oh, I can get even more money from having more babies? Well, then I'm having more babies. Oh, well, I want to have a career. Having a baby makes it hard to have a career. Not going to have a baby then. Time to get an abortion. Whatever you think is in your self-interest is how you would answer this question. Ethics of care, or EOC. Well, this one sounds nice. You care about everybody. Your whole virtue is centered on the care of people. Ethics of care is, oh no, it's developed by feminists. Oh no, run away! Run away! Okay. Okay, so it still might be a good ethical theory. So, the basic beliefs are that people have dependence and interdependence on each other, and that individuals are affected by the consequences of their choices, and those choices deserve consideration in proportion to how vulnerable that person is. And then there's going to be safeguards and promoting interests of people involved depending on who that person is in relation to, like, how much care that person needs, I guess. So because it's within the feminist genre, there's all sorts of ways you could run away with this really fast. You could have it be, for the topic of abortion, this is a feminist issue, this is a woman issue, and you could say women have the choice of what to do or not do of their body. End of story. Abortion is a choice. You get to decide to kill or not kill. Doesn't matter. Or you could say, oh, well, the virtue of the child is so underprivileged that they require the most amount of care right now, care that only your womb can provide. And you not giving them that care is an affront to humanity. So you're evil and vile, and you, I guess, will be tortured and killed or something, I don't know. But you need to have that kid, and we need to care for that kid. Now maybe you don't, but we do, because that kid needs our help right now. They need more care than you do. So the care that we're placing is in the one that needs the most care, which is the fetus, not you. And the hell with what you want or feel, it doesn't matter, because that one's smaller than you are, so therefore abortion, wrong, no matter what. And I guess you could go even deeper, depending on your level of feminism, with patriarchy theory and other insane ideas like that. And, I guess it would also determine on maybe what genitals the baby has. But then again, what about their gender expression? Can we figure that out? Should we even assign it at birth? I don't know how that works. Depends. Oh my god, this is a big giant can of worms. Get off this topic. Quick, quick, quick. New ethical system. Ah! Moral relativism, or as I like to think about it, fuck it. Screw it. Morals aren't real. Who cares? It's all subjective. It just depends on the situation. Depends on what you're talking about, really. I mean, what's wrong here might be right there. What's wrong now might be right later. I don't know, whatever. Just, forget it. So, how do you have morals based on an ethical system that says that the morals are themselves relativistic? That is to say, they change. Well, it's not just that you're saying that morals don't exist. You're saying that they're relative based on the circumstance that you find yourself in. Although critics of relativism might say something like I did, where it's just like wishy-washy and it's so subjective. People that believe in DCT will criticize atheists for having no moral compass. You don't have a set guideline, so everything is relativistic, and therefore your morals are subjective. Well, a moral relativity says, yeah, they are, but they still matter. It still matters what I do or don't do. It matters depends on what it is that I'm looking at, because sometimes it's okay to kill somebody and sometimes it's not okay to kill somebody. So somebody comes in trying to rob a bank, it might be okay for me to kill them in order to stop them from killing others. Then again, if we're saying that we could save 100 people with this one person's organs, if we kill that person, then we can save those 100 people. But, it's just, that's probably not good for that person. Plus, that could apply to me. So, it just depends on the situation. But that sounds like it's a situation that could be turned against me. Then I don't know. Look over there. See that? Yeah, I'm going to go this way now. So, it just depends on the situation. So, abortion in this one, yeah and no. Because it just depends. It's based upon other considerations. Is it going to put the mother's life in danger? Is it going to put them in financial hardship? Is it going to put the guy, because, screw the guy, right? We hardly ever talk about the guy. But is it going to put him in a moral binding or a financial binding of some sort that he doesn't want to be in? What about the child? Is the child going to be born into unloving family or put into a system that doesn't care about it? What about the state of the world in and of itself? Is this really a good world to be born into? What country, what nation, where are they being born? What about the religious ideology that the parents might or might not hold? Are they going to be abusive parents, or are they going to be sold as a sex slave when it would be better for them to not live than to be born as a sex slave? So then abortion might be better in that case than living under those horrible, terrible, not so terrific conditions. Or maybe they're going to be born a millionaire. That would be pretty good, and given all the things in life and never have to know what it is to suffer or whatever. Then it would be really bad to kill them, right? Unless other things happen, like the economy collapses, then it would be bad. But I don't know. It's good right now, so it just depends. So that's the answer for that one. Natural law. This is an ethical system that seems very similar to DCT, but doesn't necessarily require divine command. It's based upon this idea that there are laws that are right for all people always, and that these laws are unchanging. What are those laws? That's a good question. I don't know. I guess it depends on what natural law you think is true or not true. So, once you've settled that, you would have an ethical system to build your morals upon. Of course, what those natural laws are and how you determine that is an open question as far as I can determine. So the answer to abortion under this ethical system is good luck. I don't know. I have no idea. It doesn't tell me anything. It's just whatever nature it says. So I guess with that, nature wants to promote life, so then therefore abortion would be bad, I guess. Yeah, and then if the kid was going to die in the during birth or before birth, that's what nature had intended, therefore it's good. And if it's going to kill the mom, then that's good because that's what nature intended. I guess that's one way to view it, but that's not really the way it's viewed as. So good luck with this one. I don't know. Just pick up a book on it, I suppose, because I got nothing for you on this one. Sorry, I just don't understand natural law, I guess. It's too close to DCT for me to make heads or tails of it, I suppose. But, yeah, it's an ethical system that exists. Rawls' theory of justice is an interesting idea for an ethical system. Honestly, I don't know how it would apply to this particular topic. I think that you would have to learn a great deal before deciding that this was an ethical system that you wanted to use, because it's extraordinarily complicated. There's justice talked about, there's principles where there's equal rights, basic liberties, then there's, things, based on the ignorance veil and, what person has the basic liberties and rights and social and then economic inequalities, so that the greatest benefit goes to the least advantaged member of society, but as long as that's consistent with a saving principle, so all of that would have to tie in together to formulate the overall answer to the question, which might put this into the category that today it might be a good idea to allow abortion, but tomorrow it might be a better idea to not allow it, or that in some certain circumstances it would be good, but in others it would not be good, because it's not just about that individual, but it's also about society in large, but it's also about trying to figure out justice for society. So I think you'd have to also research the ideas of justice in and of itself before even hoping to ascribe to this as an ethical theory to then which to pin your morals upon. So out of the ethical systems I've talked about so far, I would consider this the most complex so far to understand, because you have to understand additional things besides just reading the book called A Theory of Justice by John Rawls, who the name of the ethical system is here of the thing of. Hey, remember that time that I said that that was the most complicated, most complex ethical system so far? Yeah, this one beats it by a landslide. This one's even more complicated and more complex to understand as an ethical framework. There is so much to unpack for the social construct theory. This harkens back to philosophy in and of itself. This is how to build society in general. How do we even do that? That's what this tries to address as an ethical question. To frame morals around this, my word, that would be an undertaking of epic proportions, because you'd have to understand all of the nuances of social contract theory, how it applies to building a society, which would require numerous thought experiments, which might require you to ascribe to other ethical systems. You're talking about meta-ethics at this point to figure out the ethics of ethics, the essence of what ethics is and how it applies, and if it's good in the first place, and what one's better than the other, and how it all works together. So, forget about answering any question with this system. You have to understand the system before you can even hope to know how the question would be answered. But, having said that, looking at how our society is currently formed, rather than asking about how to properly form a society, might answer the question of abortion. With our current society, we have abortion legal almost everywhere. Other places also seem to have abortion legal. So the question is about the society's benefits rather than the individual's. And also somewhere in there is the individual's obligation to follow society's rules, and also the government's obligation to the individual and the individual's obligation to the government. So it's kind of complicated. But I think, tentatively, I would say probably, possibly, at least under our own system with social contract theory, you'd have to say yes to abortion. However, your mileage may vary. Huzzah! My ethical system, utilitarianism. And yeah, there's different flavors of it, but I'll break it down like this. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. Thanks, Spock. Good words. I agree. Unless that one is me, then I totally disagree. But that's a whole different topic. My view on utilitarianism is do the least harm to the least amount and the most good for the most amount. Now, of course, you could ask what I mean by harm, and you could also ask what I mean by good, and I'd say, well, with humans, for example, harm is something that physically or mentally hurts you in some way, shape, or form. If I can knowingly prevent that from occurring or negate it, then I will do so. It's my moral duty to do that. If I must inflict harm, then I should only inflict the bare minimum necessary harm to accomplish whatever the goal is. Maybe I need to inject you with a drug that will help your immune system, so the pain of the injection is relatively small compared to the disease that might otherwise run rampant throughout your body. It might be that I have to knock you down in order to prevent you from running into the street when you weren't paying attention, or I have to knock you out because you're drunk to take your keys away. And so the harm that I'm doing to you is in proportion to the ultimate good that I'm looking at in regards to what the best outcome will be in the long run. And then if it's a one versus many, like the trolley problem, do you switch the track if the trolley's headed towards the one person to the 5 people? Or rather, versus, if you switch the track when it's headed towards 5 people to the one person, you switch it to the one person. And actually, the answer to that problem is you throw your mother-in-law over the bridge to stop the trolley. But in all seriousness, the idea is very simple, and that's why I like it, because it's easy to understand. It's like if I think and if I view it and I question, and I say, okay, well, what do I think, or what do I hope will be the outcome? What will be the benefit of the most good? So following laws is the most good for everyone else, because I'm then being a citizen in this community that is obeying the laws, and I'm not disrupting those rules, and I'm benefiting everyone else by doing that. If it's a question of what you eat, you could apply it to that too. You say, okay, well, vegan, that's a good way to go because then I'm not killing animals. Well, but you have to do an awful lot of research to see whether or not being vegan is actually doing more damage to the environment than the animals are. So it's a question of investment of your own time and energy into whatever the given topic is that you want to research into, to decide ultimately how your morals would apply to that situation. Will the benefit be towards the many? Then do it. If not, don't do it. And at least for my list of ethics, if you have other ethical systems that you want me to look at, try to understand, and then fail to do so, please let me know in the comments below. Virtue ethics. Yeah, this is about being virtuous, basically. What does that mean? It means being good. What does that mean? Well, it means doing the best that you can do. What does that mean? So, it's a moral theory that focuses on the development of a virtuous character. Virtues are ingrained dispositions to act by a standard of excellence. So character is the key to the moral life, for it's a virtuous character that moral conduct and values naturally arise. What standard of excellence? How does that work? What is my virtuous character? What does that mean? Like, what is the, how, what do I do? How does this work? Wait, no, you didn't answer any of the questions. Okay, let's see what Google has to say about this. Let's see. Virtue ethics is person rather than action-based. It looks at the moral character of the person carrying out an action. But ethics is the framework that you're basing morals on. So how... Okay, what the wait, what? Well, let's see. Maybe the... Maybe this will help. Let's see. The Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Okay, let's see. Virtue ethics is a broad term for theories that emphasize the role of character in virtue of moral philosophy, either by doing one's duty or acting. Act as a virtuous person would act. What? What? But what does? How does a virtuous? What does that mean? You're not telling me any. Good luck with this one. Screw this one. I don't know how this one would answer this question. So, ethics. There's a lot of different ethical systems out there, and they each provide a different framework to hang your morals upon. And then your morals will be pointed towards the ethical structure that then informs your decision-making process. Depending on how you view the ethical system will then depend upon how you view the moral system. Which I guess means that both could be seen as subjective, which means moral relativism is true. But then the ethical relativism would also have to be true, meaning that moral relativism isn't really true because it's only sort of true, but then that means, oh, believe me. Okay, so meta-ethics, let's try that. Maybe that will solve the problem. Let me look up what meta-ethics is. Oh, God. What have I done? What have I done?